say?
I'm feeling a certain type of way right now.
That's the best way to describe it.
I'm a little disappointed. I feel like we were never given a chance.
I knew the worst was coming, and there was nothing to do but watch it just transpire.
But there was no build-up. It wasn't like, oh, but I might feel this way, or it was just like, no.
There was no wish-wash. There was no flip-flop. There was no to and fro.
That was just a gun straight to the head.
So the pain that we're feeling right now...
But it almost wasn't... I wasn't allowed to grieve. I wasn't allowed to feel pain.
It was like this crew Band-Aid. And instead of like that slow, like we're gonna make this, like try and like make it hurt less, like try and make it hurt so good, it was like, Be D'Souza! Like, in my face!
There was nothing for the cruise shippers. It wasn't like, oh, cruise shippers...
We know how you feel, cruise shippers.
There was nothing.
Like, no.
It was, Katie, she's bad now.
No,
and Bianca's good.
And remember that time, like, when Trianka broke up originally, it was like this long, drawn-out thing, and there was all this B and D and sadness, and no, crew did not get any of that.
No remorse for the cruise shippers.
I understand that our ranks are small, and maybe they were diminishing, but we were presidents of that crew.
And a lot of you have asked us, Alex and Taylor, what is it about crew that you prefer? Because so many of you guys are Drianka shippers and we are not.
I try to understand Drianka shippers because
I get it.
It is this kind of bad boy and girl who are trying to, I don't know.
But it's so predictable.
I think that's why I don't like it as much, maybe. I like B. On her own, like, especially in this episode, I was rooting for her all the way. I was like, go B. Doing good.
At least she's trying to make improvements in her life.
It's not that, when I say I don't like Drianka, it's not that I don't like Drew or Bianca, because I love them both.
Exactly.
I just don't want them together. I just thought Katie and Drew worked in this really cute way, and it was this kind of like, they might not really be that much in common, but like, somehow there was like some kind of deeper connection.
It was also, when that two-parter came out during the summer with the Fight Club, and it was Katie, and she was there, and she was supporting him, and she didn't know what was going on with him, but she still really liked him, and they both fell under this, like, cool dynamic of, like, smart leadership girl and, like, not-so-smart jockey dumb boy, and, like, they, like, just came together, and they had this understanding of each other.
It was nice.
And we didn't expect at all to, like, have any interest in them whatsoever.
We were like, oh, I'm intrigued to see where this will go, but never did I think that it was gonna be such a strong, powerful relationship, and I really liked it, and I'm really sad that it's gone, and hopefully one day the gods will shine down upon Degrassi and crew will be reunited, but for now, it looks like in part 2, we're gonna be getting more of this Drianka.
Bianca put him at risk so many times to be in harm's way. Somebody died. When, like, it was just so much bad. And yes, I like Bianca now, and I understand that she's doing good. And whatever. Drew and Bianca, they do have good chemistry, but it's just...
But you know what it is?
Nothing good came of
That's what it is, I think. It's not that they didn't click, because there's obviously, like, a spark there. But the difference is, I think Katie brought out the best of Drew, and maybe Drew and Bianca really did care a lot about each other, but they drew out the worst of each other, and they should not be together now. I mean, Katie's not really helping the cause right now. And you know, we love our girl Katie,
we love Katie.
But
and a lot of you don't like Katie.
I don't understand
we're just like, how can you not like Katie?
Because she's not like an outwardly evil person. I feel like people, you know what it is? And maybe this is because she is the HBIC, but I think a lot of people at first did not like Holly J. I know I didn't. I really wanted to smack a bitch. I learned to love Holly J, and I learned to accept her attitude, and that what she would do was kind of covering up her own insecurities. She's fun and just adorable, and there's so much good in Katie, and I know that she's got into some bad stuff, and she's kind of had a rough year, and it's just getting rougher as it goes.
So, I think you can tell what our general feeling was about this crew possible means to an end. So we are conversing with Chloe on the Twitter right now.
Because we have a lot to say, and we want to know what she has to say.
And we needed to know. So we asked Chloe, what was up with Drew just automatically getting with Bianca and not showing any remorse for Katie whatsoever. No explanation, no, oh my god, Katie's going through this, just like straight up,
like,
yo,
Katie and I aren't doing too well. Like, attack B, you know?
And this is what Chloe has to say. Chloe says, Drew has always been kind of a I do what I want kind of guy, and she said, I think we see a little more consideration from him in next week's episode. So...
Well, there's a little insight into that. I feel a little bit better about it, and I understand that. I just don't like that part of Drew, and it was kind of, you know why I think we forgot this? Because it's kind of been concealed since he's been dating Katie. He's been a lot more considerate, so I guess, again, B brings out the worst in him.
And Katie brought out the best in him. That's why we loved them together. Drew and Bianca are now going to be together, and Katie's just going to accept it, and Drew's going to say, I'm sorry. Is that supposed to make me feel better? Because I'm not really feeling better about that.
It looks like Bianca is inevitable. Oh, the dancing. I was like, Chloe, good job being a trooper and being a good sport about dancing, because I just know if it were me, I would hate to have to dance.
I love when you're watching the episode and you're coming onto the scenes that you've seen in the promos and you're like, oh, and that's what happened.
And that's what it did.
When they got into the kitchen scene with Bianca and Kate, I was like, oh, that's when the water's gonna come out.
Alex audibly goes, and that's why she sprays her. I was like, yeah, that is why. That's exactly it.
Katie took her pill with water. Katie took her pill with water in the hallway.
Good girl.
She took her Oxy. So I don't know how I'm feeling about, like, Marisol being wishy-washy about her and Mo's relationship, and now Mo has trapped himself in this, like, way expensive night out on the town.
This is Toronto. So, like, this is a very, like, James Tiberius York thing to do. Like, I'm pretty sure, instead of, like, if you know How I Met Your Mother, there's the bro code, there's also the James Tiberius York code, and all kind of awkward people at Degrassi follow this code, and it's all the bad things that you can get yourself into on dates and in situations of that sort.
You could just see on his face, he was like, oh, when he was like, drink your latte, he was like, oh, I'm in trouble.
I like Marisol a little bit more now that she's, like, kind of with him, but at the same time, she's too wishy-washy for that good of a date. Sorry, not deserving.
So we asked Chloe about the dancing, and she says it was a little awkward, but she thought it was appropriate for the character. She had a lot of fun doing those scenes. Oh, she says they were dancing to We Found Love by Rihanna.
Really? Oh, that's funny.
That's hilarious.
That's really cute. Yeah, no, I give her major props for the dancing.
That's funny because I've heard before that usually when they're at big dance scenes, there's no music playing, so, like, the extras and stuff have to be, like, pretending to, like, dance and stuff.
What if there's a different song in your head than the other extra? So, like, you're like,
yeah,
bum, 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 bum,
and
bum,
the other's
like, da-da-da-da. So, while we're on the subject of Chloe, can I just say, how great was her high acting? We've already got, like, a glimpse of it, but it was just, like, fantastic. There was, like, it really didn't slip in or out. It was, like, really consistent and really funny, and, like, it was like how like Paige would say things that like she didn't really like want to say out loud, or like Ashley and things like that. Like it was like real reminiscent to the old days.
Her facial expressions are so perfect when she's trying to be like patronizing and witchy, but like she's
but at the same time like she's just saying it, but like she's a loop the whole time. It's just
you're really good at that, Chloe.
Yeah, I don't know, but you're good. She got sprayed too. She's like whining in the background. You're like, like some kind of cry. Poor Maya, by the way. Oh my god.
Maya's like, is this my life? Can this not be my sister,
she's like,
please?
Wait a second. I didn't get zigged. Tori's a jerk. Tristan's her friend. Like, I wake up. Who do I find in my house but B. D'Souza, who always brings trouble with her wherever she goes, and she's spraying my sister with her hose from the kitchen sink.
Chloe says they turn down the music when they have dialogue. I just thought they didn't play any music. But maybe that's an old thing. Also, what I loved about this episode, it felt like they took the characters' names, like, jumbled them up in a box, and, like, picked them out for scenes. Like, didn't it seem like it's just so weird to see, like, I don't know, you're like, it's like Mo and Marisol now, and now you have, like, Katie and Bianca.
Yeah, like, I mean, I really did feel bad for Bianca in this episode. Katie, like, sort of used her. Obviously, it's not Katie in her right... It's not Katie in her right state of mind. Like, obviously, she's an addict right now, and she's going through something. But at the same time, like, Bianca was, like, basically to Drew, like, I don't want to expect anything good because it usually turns out bad. And he was trying to convince her to, like, think positively, and look what happens, you know? It sucks.
It made me feel worse for Bianca when Katie would throw in these little jabs and then pretend they were jokes, like when she was like, oh, well, I don't just have, like, a ton of slutware lying around my house.
I mean, I'm glad Bianca could laugh at it, but, like, that was, like,
Katie
ouch.
meant that.
Yeah.
And, like, her true colors, like, came out when she was like, I know you were trying to steal Drew from me. Like, those were her insecurities just coming on
It's
out.
very Holly J in the way that, like, she, like,
sad.
spits out things that are, like, hard truths and stuff because of her own insecurities. And I really don't blame B for anything that happened with the whole Drew and her getting back together. I think that was all...
It was him.
And also it was inevitable. You know, they both felt it. And, like, but, you know, she was trying to keep her boundaries. I respect you, B. You were trying to stay out of the whole relationship thing, and Drew sucked you back in.
Just so sudden. Like, it just still that there was no middleman. It was just like, Katie's on pills, Katie and Bianca don't like each other, Drew loves Bianca.
Yeah.
Are we gonna see those characters at the Frostival? Or is it just gonna be like, Eclair and Fimogen, Eclair and Fimogen? I don't know. You know it's gonna be Eclair and Fimogen based. And we're gonna see Holly J again, which I'm really excited about.
Obviously, so happy. We got back to the Dave thing, yay. I love when they follow back with stuff like that.
Dave.
So Dave, like, already right off the bat, you see him in class, and, like, he seems, like, a little bit more composed, obviously, than the day it happened, and it's been a week, but still, like, I don't know. I guess this was an actor choice, but, like, it was very interesting the way he played it, and I think there was something to that, the very, like, because the first thing I said was, like, wow, he doesn't seem like he's, like, fazed by this. Like, it was all, like, very uppy, and I think Allie kind of called him out on that. Like, why'd you clam up like that and not want to talk about it anymore?
I think it's crappy that all of those people are saying things about him when it wasn't his fault at all. I mean, of course that sort of thing is going to happen.
It does.
Especially if they know their history together. That's kind of sketchy. I do feel like, Dave, you should take some time. Don't visit her in the hospital. Maybe, like, in a few weeks, if she wants to talk to you, let her come to you. Or then go to her and apologize. But going and seeing her in the hospital with her family around, I don't think that's a good idea.
It's not the right time. The family still has a lot that they're going through. I'm sure she's going through.
Unless he brought Officer Turner with him.
Like, write her a letter, write her an email, like, test the waters. Like, don't go right to her. See what her, like, she's comfortable with, I guess.
He's just so self-deprecating about it. He's like, it's my fault.
I think that, and that's why he's jumping so fast to try and get to her. I mean, because obviously he feels so guilty. So what he wants to do is just, like, try and make amends for everything that's happened. And maybe right now it's not the right time. It's a sad story, and, like, you know, Dave is a good person, and he did not intentionally want anything bad to happen and just said dud.
I'm wondering if we're going to see, like, in next week's episode, like, Dave does go see Jacinta and we get closure about it, or if he's going to continue to be crazy. I'm kind of hoping it's the latter, because I do want to see him, like,
I just want to see him more. I just want to see more Dave. Yeah. Because I've just been so impressed with this whole plot and how he's handled it and stuff. Jenna, I'm gonna go wash my hair.
I mean, it was funny.
It was. I had to say.
She kind of didn't need to be in this episode, in my opinion. Like, she was just kind of thrown in there.
I guess there was some banter for her and Allie that was sort of necessary.
I also forgot she was living at the Bendari house still. I was like, you live there.
That's right. I'm just hoping Hollaback Girl Part 2, we're going to get more of what we need. We're going to see Mo and this grandiose date, which was the happy, lighthearted plot.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
What?
I don't think that grandiose date is gonna happen.
Well, I'm sure he's gonna be like, there's all about it. Like, there's gonna be some kind of
I want them
thing.
to, like, go to dinner and ditch the bill, like they did in, who was on... Remember when they went to that restaurant and they ended up having to... I think they were, like, skipping school. Wasn't it, like, Ashley and Paige and Spinner?
Yeah.
And then they ended up having to ditch the bill because they didn't have enough money. And then they, like, went back to the restaurant later and they didn't realize it was the same place.
Something like that. Wow, wait.
Remember? It was the same restaurant they, like, go to for prom.
It wasn't... There was an episode where they ditched school and Ashley's like, I'm sad. Like, they take her to an Elvis impersonation thing, but I think it's something different than that one.
What kind of episode was that?
I just I'm not in a void of eternity. She's like basically crying at the piano. Her mom's like, Ashley, I hate you. Go to school, please.
Ashley, you're the worst character
ever.
Like, you and Derek should get married. So I asked Chloe if she could give us some adjectives for part 2, and she said sad for all 3 characters and a little confusing.
Oh, no.
We're not gonna get closure. No closure.
Alright, I can't.
Well,
no, I'm done. I'm
that
sorry.
just put things into a bad perspective.
Now that we're leaving on that note, I'm done. We'll see you for Hollaback Part 2.
This my shit.